year, I think it was February, I was at a conference. I'm a naturopathic doctor, and as an ND, I attend lots of conferences. And I was at a conference in February, and I was sitting right behind Sheila Day. And Sheila started talking about this technology, and she had this little device. Now, Sheila wasn't talking to me, but I was eavesdropping on what she was saying. And then finally, I kind of got her attention, and I needed to understand this. And Sheila took a group of us, 3 or 4, and she started explaining the technology. And one of the members of that group was one of your competitors. But she didn't care. She still explained all of this. And in my practice, I use sound therapy constantly. And so I was interested. And so I went back to my room that night and I studied everything. And by the next morning, I was completely aware of everything Solex. And I was ready to sign up. But when I signed up, I was only going to use the inner voice. That was all I was interested in, because in my practice, I have a sound portal. And when someone is dealing with things like liver congestion or digestive issues, there are specific sound frequencies that you can listen to binaural, and they will help to bring that condition down or balance that thing out. So I was just very, very aware of this type of technology and the healing of it. I was only going to use it for inner voice. I quickly, or I shouldn't even say inner voice, I should say the emotional portion of inner voice. But I quickly realized that inside of that inner voice report, it's way more powerful than some people give it credit for. Inside of that one report, you have, for instance, if note F comes up, you automatically know that you're going to be dealing with something probably in the upper respiratory and the digestive system probably could use some support every time. If E comes up, you're probably going to be dealing with the lower digestion, and maybe liver and gallbladder might be slightly affected by that. The full range of health seems to show up. And so I started marrying that with my practice in my sound portal. If I saw something with digestion, I would then recommend that the client or patient listen to the digestive portion of the sound portal. And if something came up with liver or gallbladder, the same, because the frequencies, it doesn't matter how they get into your system, whether it be sound or vibration or homeopathy, frequency is frequency. So I was able to use this to kind of take my practice to the next level. And in my practice and in that portal, I have affirmations, I have meditations, I have a whole list of rife frequencies. I got the gamut, and so this seriously added to that. But one of these times in the Solex Facebook group, I asked a question, I got an answer, I wasn't satisfied with the answer, so I dug a little bit deeper, and I wasn't satisfied with that. But I just moved on. About a month later, I watched an interview that Lauren did, totally non-Solex. It was on someone else's platform. And Lauren said something that made me to understand that the answer that I'd gotten couldn't be correct because Lauren said differently, or at least the math didn't seem 1 + 1 wasn't equal to 3. So I went back and I revisited that. Still wasn't getting a satisfactory answer. About a week later, my phone started ringing. I didn't recognize the number. I don't answer numbers that I don't recognize. And about 3 days into this, I get a text. And the text says, listen to this. The text says, Daryl, this is Lauren Swenson, president of Solex. I've been trying to call you. Let me know when you have them. He doesn't need to give his credentials, ever. If he's calling somebody at Solex, he can just say Lauren. I don't think you ever need to let us know that you're from Solex. It's like when you get those calls you see in movies, please hold for the president. And then the president doesn't get on the phone, you just know.
Amen.
So I'm sitting there wondering, did I do something wrong? Like, am I about to get completely booted out of the company? I'm going back in the Facebook group and wondering like what I said. And so I talked to him, and he addressed my concern. He gave me the answer. He made sure I was satisfied with the answer. And then we talked for about another hour. And we started talking about sound and frequency and solfeggio frequencies and vibration and all of these different things. And at the end of that conversation, he asked me if I would beta test something, but he didn't tell me what it was. And about a month ago, I got another call from him, and he then started to explain to me about mind sync. And he asked me if I would beta test that for him, and I did. And when it comes to voices and affirmations, because I have them in my portal, I do them. I recommend that all of my clients do them. These are all affirmations that someone else is talking. It's someone else's voice, it's someone else's energy, and they work. They're binaural in nature, and they just work. However, they're not you. They're not your voice, it's not your energy, it's not your vibration. So as Lauren said, the most important voice is the voice of God, and the next one is your own. And no one trusts anybody else as much as they trust themselves. And sometimes we tell ourselves differently. Like we'll say, I don't, like me, I'll say, I don't trust myself around pizza because I don't have the ability to stop it. But the truth is, I understand my weakness to pizza. So what it is that I don't trust is myself when I'm around it, because I know what happens when I do it. It's a full amount of trust in my weaknesses is what I'm saying. And that's how we all are. So I started playing with mind sync, and I started looking at the affirmations, and I started doing my own affirmations. And it's very much like Lauren said, when you bring it back inside, you start hearing it right in the center of your head. And that's way more powerful than any affirmation that I've ever done, any affirmation that I've ever heard. You're bringing it fully inside. And you're changing the frequency of yourself, actually. Everything is a frequency. You know, when I go back and I look at the portal that I've been using with clients, everything that they listen to is the frequency, whether it's the frequency of the liver or the frequency of the heart, the frequency of blood, the frequency of mitochondria. All of this is frequency, and it has an effect on yourself, and it changes your frequency. But none of those things can change the frequency of your physiology like you.
That's right.
Because in reality, it's not really changing your frequency from the standpoint of doing something inside of you. It's connecting to your energy, and it's that connection that changes the frequency. And this is genius, Lauren, because it allows us, it allows us to get in there and modify our frequency however we want. Lauren has given us this with a list of affirmations, but from my perspective, the best thing that he did was to put it in there so you could make your own. And these are guides. I am happy, I am love, I am peace, I am in good health. All of these are amazing. But you can tell yourself anything that you want. Anything that you can think of, if you actually have the ability to conceptualize anything, then you have that ability to modify it in yourself with this. And just saying it without the technology is great, but saying it with the technology amplifies it. Sometimes I go back to this, and I don't know why, but the Bible, there's a portion there that says in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. And for me, that is, when you say something is something, that's like an equal sign. What is on one side of the equation is equal to what's on the other side of the equation. So even from a child, when I would look at the Word was God, it means for me that Word has an infinite amount of power. And what is a word? It's a thought that has been spoken. When you speak your thoughts, they have power. When you speak your thoughts, and you put them inside of a format like this, you amplify that power. And you are restricted only to the limit of your ability to think of what it is that you want and what it is that you want to do. So I'm going to wrap this up by saying that I am overwhelmingly grateful to you. I'm overwhelmingly grateful to Solex, because what you've done with MindSync is put everything squarely back into our own hands. Mm-hmm. And it is our own responsibility or lack of it that will either propel us forward or leave us stagnant. So,